Hey, second students. Welcome to our new normal and our first online digital merge service. And so quickly take off your hazmat suits and settle in. This video is going to be actually a little bit longer than our future Wednesday night videos because we haven't had a chance to talk since social distancing became a thing. Also, these aren't going to be like really polished, formal, put together as we normally do merge. I'm in my bedroom right now. My kids could run through the door at any moment. There are loud trucks and children outside. I just got an Alexa notification. My bed is littered with camera stuff because guess what? I'm trying to figure all this out just like you are. So I want to say a few things before we kick off officially merge tonight. First, I miss you. I miss y'all a whole lot. I got to hang out with plenty of you during spring retreat, but any ability that we had to see each other since then has been taken away, and it's really been taken away for the foreseeable future. But we're going to do this the best way we can to stay connected online. And so if you're like me, that may seem difficult if you're not that into social media. I think many of us, and myself included, we are consumers when it comes to social media, but we're not as good with actually connecting. And so, secondly, we're going to be forced to raise that bar during this time to use those tools that we have well. So here's the best thing you can do right now to stay connected with what we're doing. Whatever social media that you have or your parents have, go and follow, like, subscribe to all of our accounts on those platforms. The links will be in the description below, but you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Second Students. That's with a 2. So the number 2, ND Students. Second Students, that's on Instagram and Twitter. You can like and follow our Facebook page at Second Students, all spelled out. And you may already be on our church's YouTube channel right now at Second Baytown. And so on this channel, we're going to have a student ministry playlist queued up with all of our videos that will come over the next several weeks. You can also find our video resources and other resources on our church website, secondbaytown.org, or for just student ministry specific stuff, secondbaytown.org/secondstudents. And on a thing called RIGHTNOW Media. Now, there's a chance, students, that you don't even know what this is, and so let me tell you a little bit about it. RIGHTNOW Media is free through our church and will provide you with resources both for you as an individual student and for your family. And so it's got Bible studies, videos, all sorts of things. It really is kind of like Netflix, but for church stuff, for Bible studies. And so one of the ways that I'm actually going to be challenging y'all tonight at the end of our merge service is going to be respond to tonight's message by going to something on RIGHTNOW Media. And so there's going to be links to both of those in the description below as well. And so I'll have a video coming out soon on how we'll use our platforms and go over a schedule for our content that's going to come out for for student ministry rather. And our plan moving forward while we can't meet together physically. And so please know this, in all seriousness, man, I love y'all so very much. And I know this season is unique and it's going to become more difficult as time goes on and we become more physically disconnected. I'm really thinking like right now about our seniors. And so if you're not a senior, I want you to try to process through this. Having the end of your junior high and high school careers kind of ripped away from you. We're in unique spots that are going to be really difficult. But here's what I know. We can find encouragement in the Lord and in one another, even though we're physically separated. Okay? So as we kick off digital merge right now, what I've done is I've asked Emily Gray to lead us in worship. And she'll be doing that from her home, just like me right now and just like you right now. And even though it's not normal and even though it's not completely comfortable, worship to God through music happens more than from a stage or in a chair facing a stage. It happens in cars. It happens in homes. It happens through headphones. It happens on lawnmowers. I did that yesterday. It happens in so many different places all the time. And so I'm going to quickly pray for us right now, and we're going to begin worshiping together. Y'all pray with me. God, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for those tuning in both tonight and in the days to come. God, I ask that you would allow this time as we experience musical worship, as we hear from your word in just a few minutes. God, I ask that you would help us to both listen, comprehend, and understand, that your Spirit would work in us to teach us and make us become more like you. And so, God, right now, even though all of us are in positions and places that we aren't normally in during this time, God, I ask that you would be present and real to us. God, we love you. Help us worship you right now. In Christ's name, amen.
Hey everyone, I hope y'all are all doing well and staying healthy. I know these next few weeks are going to look a little bit different, but that doesn't mean we get to stop worshiping God. So wherever you are right now, whether that's in your room, your grandma's house, your car, wherever that is, I just encourage you to dig in deep, use this time, and let's worship.
Worship
Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. And nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. And what could separate us? And now, what a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. And nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. Death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the foes of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival. You have no equal, now and forever, God, you reign. And yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. And nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. And yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. And nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Let's talk about dates. No, not those. Yeah, those. I mean, look how much fun they're having. Dates are great, right? Until they're not. Like, maybe he said, "Sup, bruh?" to your dad. Maybe she won't stay off her phone. Maybe he won't stop taking selfies. Maybe he said you remind him of someone special. His ex-girlfriend. Yeah, next. It can make you wish dates came with an escape button. But there's a way to make dating a better experience. We can have coffee without conflict. We can go to dinner without wanting to dash. We can save the date.
And so I would imagine that right now, the last couple of weeks, for many of you, are a blur. And so in case you don't remember, we're actually in the middle of a dating series called Save the Date. And you might be thinking right now, Brandon, that's really funny. We can't even see our friends right now, much less date. And while you're right, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, this series isn't about can or can't, should or shouldn't, or right or wrong when it comes to dating. This series is to help you for whatever dating becomes in your life and whenever it happens. So whether that is right now you're in a relationship with another guy or another girl, or years in the future, this is to try to teach you principles that you can use in dating. And so 2 weeks ago, our main idea was this. When it comes to dating, becoming the right person is greater than finding the right person. And so we're going to continue that tonight in our dating series as we prepare our minds and our hearts for the concept of dating whenever that's going to happen. And so I want to start like this. Can you remember the last time a song got stuck in your head? And I think you know what I'm talking about. It's when the chorus or a particular part of a song replays in our minds over and over and over again. And when that happens, some of you keep singing to yourself, like in your head, and it's fine. For others, if that song gets stuck in your head, the world knows about it because we sing it out loud. So when it's a song that you love, getting it stuck in your head is not all that bad. It's actually kind of fun. But when it's a song that you hate or other people hate, it's terrible not being able to get that song out of your brain. And so if you have a little brother or a little sister, or maybe you're just unusual, just kidding, you do know a song that may be one of the worst or maybe one of the best. It's very polarizing on which side it is. Songs like Baby Shark, they get stuck in our head and they make you want to rip your eyebrows off. Or they make you really happy and you just get to annoy everyone that's around you with Baby Shark. My son, for one, loves it, and he loves doing the hand motions and all that stuff. And quite possibly, with me just mentioning it, I got the song stuck in your head, and so I'm kind of sorry about that. But really, music isn't the only thing that can get stuck in our brains. There are times when I so desperately want a 2-meat patty Whataburger with 1 slice of cheese with only ketchup, mustard, and pickles only. And when I want that, I can't think about anything else. The idea just gets stuck in my brain. And so maybe for you it's Chick-fil-A, or maybe it's also Whataburger, or Taco Bell, or Cane's. There are plenty of options, but we all have this in our minds where whether it's food, songs, things, people, ideas, we get stuff stuck in our heads all the time. Another thing that can get stuck in our brains is what we're actually talking about in the series, Save the Date. We're talking about people. Now again, you may not call it dating, but you get the idea. It's the idea of having somebody in your life that you're interested in, and hopefully they're interested in you too. And so if you found yourself interested in someone recently, then you know that it's a lot like getting a song stuck in your brain. It's like you can't shake that person out of your mind no matter how hard you try. And that's totally normal, by the way. There's not anything that's necessarily a problem with getting someone stuck in your brain. It only becomes a problem when a person, or the idea of having a person, becomes an obsession. You've probably seen this happen to people that you may know. Maybe it's this guy who cannot have a conversation with you without bringing up his girlfriend. Or maybe it's a girl that no matter what you're doing, there's always something that reminds them of this guy. And they redirect every conversation and everything you do to this person that she's dating. They are obsessed. And so how do you know when this idea becomes an obsession? It's when you have somebody in your life and they are all that you think about. It's when you have somebody in your life and they're the only person that you spend time with. And the people that were normally closest to you, man, they haven't seen you in a while. They think that you have the corona because most of your free time is spent exclusively with that person. It's when you have somebody in your life and they're all that you talk about. Your friends don't have to guess what's been going on in your life today because they already know. It's when you don't have somebody in your life, but the idea of someone takes up your headspace. You're searching, you're waiting, you're so hoping to find that person, and you talk about it more than people who are actually dating. You may be thinking, hey, why is this such a bad thing? And that's fair. There's nothing wrong with having someone in your life. There's nothing wrong with being excited about it. If you don't have someone in your life, there's nothing wrong with wishing that you did. But when everything else in your life seems to fade out because of another person, that's a problem. And here's a few reasons why. Number one, you miss out. There's so much to do in junior high and high school that you'll miss out on if you're obsessed with a relationship or the idea of a relationship. You'll miss out on chances to make memories with your friends. You'll miss out on chances to connect with your family. You'll miss out on chances to develop your talents in sports or band or theater, things like that. You'll miss out on chances to learn new things or influence others or being too focused on any one thing. It's never a good idea to do this because of how it shrinks your life down to just one other person. But second, another reason why that's a problem is you alienate other people. Your friends aren't stupid. They realize, even if you think they don't, that when your heart and your time and your energy and your thoughts are nowhere near them, they feel that distance. They feel that separation. And eventually, that takes a toll on all of those other relationships. All of a sudden, the people that you used to care about the most don't feel like you care about them. And even if you do, people notice when they've fallen completely off of your priority list. Honestly, being around couples who are overly obsessed with each other or being around someone who's just plain obsessed with the idea of dating can be annoying. Because when dating becomes someone's whole world, they're not really acting like a dating couple anymore. They've been around Maybe you have been around the type of people who are in junior high and high school but act like they're married. And even if it seems kind of romantic, like, oh, look how much they love each other, it also seems kind of weird, right? Like we've all seen people give up friends and sports and even their own identity for the person they're dating. And deep down, we know that they're probably missing out. And so the question is, what do you do about it? You can't not care about someone if you care about them, right? The whole point is to care. But how much is good for you and how much isn't? In this series, we've been talking about saving the date or rescuing your dating life from common things that can make it less awesome. But what do you do to make sure that you're not the one who needs saving? And so, in order for us to help do that, we're going to look at a passage from a guy named Paul. He wrote a whole lot of the New Testament. And it's good for you to know that his motivation was always out of love. He wanted people to love God, love each other, and live better lives for him. He wrote a letter called Ephesians, which many scholars believe is more like a public speech rather than to an individual person. And so it was a general encouragement from that people of all backgrounds that they could apply to their lives. And that includes us now. So one more thing before we look at his words. Paul didn't live in a dating culture. He and his friends didn't exist in a world that includes prom, dating apps, being put in friend zones. So even though this passage doesn't specifically address dating, much like we saw 2 weeks ago, the truth that comes from this passage can be applied to dating. And so this is how Paul starts in Ephesians 5, verse 15. He says this, "Look carefully then how you walk," or in other words, how you live, "not as unwise, but as wise." Paul is basically saying, pay attention to how you're living your life. Don't just let it happen to you. And as you choose how to live, wise is always better than unwise. And that pretty much seems obvious. Using words like wise and unwise when it comes to dating is perfect, because having someone in your life isn't necessarily always as easy as right or wrong. Sure, it can be, but most of the time dating decisions have to do with wise or unwise. It's rarely as much about, is this person good or bad, and more like, are they good for me, or are they good for me right now? So Paul is encouraging his general audience, hey, pay attention to what you do, and do your best to make decisions that are wise. This principle can be applied to just about anything: your friendships, school, schedule, your family. But for the sake of today's conversation, here are some questions for you to ask yourself when it comes to dating. At what point is a healthy interest in someone or the idea of dating becoming an unwise obsession? And where am I on that spectrum of interest versus obsession? And so here are a couple of examples, and maybe they seem obvious to you. Following someone on Instagram, that is an interest. You can be interested in that person. Liking and commenting on every single story or post on their Instagram from earlier today and back through the beginning of time, that's an obsession. That is for grandmothers and no one else. What about saying hey to them when you pass them in a hall, or when maybe you text one another? That is an interest. But taking the long way around in your school to go away from your class just to see them, that is a little creepy, and we would kind of categorize that as an obsession. But hey, Paul's not actually done with it making his point here. He continues in verse 16. He says this, "Making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." Now, you may be asking yourselves, are the days really evil? Like, should I be worried? Is Paul talking about some kind of zombie apocalypse? Was he talking about Corona? Well, no. Actually, in the original language, the word Paul uses here means annoying or difficult or time-consuming. In other words, your time gets taken up by so much stuff you have to do anyway. We have to make the most of what we have left. Paul is simply referring to our tendency to waste time in unwise ways. And you've probably experienced this before, and my guess is you may be experiencing this and not even know it right now. If you've ever had a free day, or like the situation we're all in, we are off of school for a really long time. But we can notice those times in our past where maybe we've had those free days or those breaks from school, and you look back on them and you just wasted your time. You're like, man, I really wish I had that free time back. I wish I'd done more while I had the chance. And so Paul wants his readers and us to make the most of the time we have on earth. When it comes to high school and junior high, these are some of the most unique years of your life. You'll look back on these days and be surprised at how important your current friendships are and how memorable this time was in your life. And when everyone is talking and reminiscing about junior high and high school, you don't want to say, man, I really miss that time with my friends because I was always with this girl or that guy. We don't want to reflect back on that. You have the chance to encourage your friends, influence people who are younger than you, and develop yourself into so many areas. Dating someone can be a part of that, but it shouldn't hold you back from doing those things now. In other words, God has a plan for your life, and specifically for your life in junior high and high school. And while dating can be a part of that plan, it can also be a distraction from it. So don't be foolish and miss out on something great because of someone that you're dating. To summarize Paul's words in the context of dating, here's one way you can think about it. To make the wisest choice with the time that you have, don't make anyone your everything. Don't make anyone your everything. That is not in any way a knock on your girlfriend or your boyfriend. They're probably great. It's simply a statement about the best use of your time now. Is dating something you can do with part of your time or part of your attention? If so, that's awesome. You have a ton of other parts of your life to focus on right now. But if someone you're dating has begun to become your everything, it really may be time to reconsider. If your dating life is holding you back from the rest of your life, it may be time to rethink some things. And so here's what that looks like. Number one, get a life. I don't mean that insultingly. But when we become obsessed with a person that we're dating or the idea of dating, our world can get very, very small. We get tunnel vision, and the only thing we can see is that person. We lose all sense of perspective. And in order to get it back, you have to start living a life that includes more than just one person. Expand your world. Get a life outside of the person that you're dating. If you're currently in a relationship, number two, don't write off the rest of the world around you. Don't ditch your friends. Don't abandon your family. Don't lose interest in the things that you used to be energized by. You were a whole person before that person came into your life. So don't lose the other parts of yourself because of him or her. Get back the things that used to make up your world and get back to being you. Number three, if you aren't dating anyone, stop thinking your life can't be good unless you date. Listen, you don't need another person to make your life whole. You don't need another person for you to have a complete junior high or high school experience. Go be you now. Once this is all over and we're able to get out of our homes, do the things that you like to do. Hang out with the people that you enjoy. If you meet someone along the way, great. But don't spend your entire life in school waiting around for that person to show up. There is way too much that is awesome about your life to not enjoy it because you are wishing you were in a relationship. I want you to remember something. I am not saying in any way, don't date. Dating can be a good thing. But I am saying, don't miss out on being a junior high or high school student because you're taking dating too seriously. Don't miss the chance to figure out who you are because you're too consumed with a relationship. In other words, don't make anyone your everything. If you feel like, hey, that's me, I've done that, what can I do? Then maybe you could reach out and ask someone for help. Ask others. Why? Because just like Paul cared about the people he wrote to, people like your parents, people like your leaders, people like me, we care about you. And we want you to have an incredible life to make the most of the time that you have. So here's my final challenge to you. When talking about wisdom and using it, I have a great resource for you. In the description below, there's a link to RIGHTNOW Media. We talked about it earlier before the service. On the second Baytown page, one of the sections is entitled Second Students. The very first study in that section is called Wisdom Series. It's all about the books of wisdom in the Bible. There's 3 of them: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. And so I'd encourage you to watch all of them because they all connect and they're all good and they all build on each other. But the first video in the queue and the first most basic wisdom book in the Bible is Proverbs. And so I'm challenging you to watch the Proverbs video tonight. After that, spend about 15 minutes or so looking at some of the book of Proverbs. Then on social media, share what bit of wisdom that you took away from that time and how you intend to use it. And it doesn't even have to do with dating. Students, I love you, and I'm praying for you, and I miss you a whole lot. And I can't wait for us to talk again really soon.